Hello and welcome to the channel, folks. Today, we're talking about that beacon of freedom and opportunity, that land of eagles and apple pie, that place where dreams apparently come true. America. Just kidding. We're here to burst that bubble of American exceptionalism, because let's be honest, 2025 doesn't exactly look like a vintage year for a visit. We're diving headfirst into the top 10 reasons why you might want to, shall we say, reconsider booking that trip to the US of A. Think of it like this. If America was a stock, we'd be giving you a big fat sell rating. And no, this isn't about bashing America for cheap laughs. Although, let's be honest, there are a lot of cheap laughs to be had. This is about giving you, the intrepid traveler, the information you need to make an informed decision because, frankly, the Statue of Liberty might be holding a torch, but right now it feels a bit like America itself is on fire. So buckle up, grab a beverage, preferably not sourced from an American corporation, we'll get to that. And let's unpack why 2025 might be the year you give America a hard pass. Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the top 10 reasons why you might want to reconsider visiting the USA in 2025. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Alright, let's kick things off with a bang, or rather, the distinct possibility of a bang. America, the land of the free, is also the land of, well, increasingly unhinged political theater. We're talking a level of division that makes a teen pop group's breakup look like a heartwarming display of unity. It's not just red states versus blue states anymore, folks. It's practically Mars versus Venus, with each side armed with enough political lawn signs to choke a horse. And 2025? Let's just say the temperature in the political pressure cooker is set to scorching. Recent presidential orders, which we won't get into here because frankly, who has the time to unpack that dumpster fire, have only fanned the flames of discontent. We're talking protests, counter-protests, and a general atmosphere of I'm right, you're wrong, and let's settle this with strongly worded tweets. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I'm just here for the museums and the mozzarella sticks. But here's the thing, this level of political tension has a nasty habit of spilling out onto the streets. Imagine trying to enjoy your overpriced hot dog at a baseball game, while a man in a MAGA hat screams about socialism next to you. Or trying to navigate a city center during a protest that's about as peaceful as a pack of rabid badgers. Not exactly the Instagram-worthy vacation you had in mind, is it? And let's not forget the very real possibility of violence. Look, I'm not saying you'll be dodging bullets while queuing for a churro at Disneyland, but the potential for unrest, particularly around government buildings or during political events, is something to consider. So, unless your ideal vacation involves tear gas and shouting matches, you might want to think twice about booking that trip. Okay, time for some real talk. America has a bit of a, shall we say, complicated relationship with firearms. It's like that friend who insists on bringing a chainsaw to a picnic, well-intentioned perhaps, but ultimately terrifying. And for visitors, this love affair with guns can be more anxiety-inducing than a TSA pat-down after a suspicious burrito. The sheer number of guns in circulation is frankly, mind-boggling. It's like they're giving away AR-15s with every Happy Meal. And while mass shootings thankfully aren't everyday occurrences, the constant drip feed of gun violence in the news is enough to make anyone think twice about venturing out for a pint of Ben & Jerry's. Look, I get it, America. You love your Second Amendment. You cherish the right to bear arms like it's a newborn panda cub. But for those of us not raised on a steady diet of John Wayne movies, the idea of simply existing in a country where a trip to Walmart could turn into a scene from a Quentin Tarantino film is, well, unsettling to say the least. And let's not forget the impact this has on your international image. You know that friend who's always getting into bar fights? That's America on the global stage right now, except instead of bar fights, it's mass shootings. And instead of a black eye, it's a reputation as a nation struggling to keep its citizens safe. So, unless you're planning on joining a militia or starring in a remake of Rambo, you might want to factor this into your travel plans. Because while the Grand Canyon is pretty amazing, it's hard to appreciate the view when you're constantly scanning the horizon for potential gunmen. Now let's talk about something near and dear to everyone's heart's healthcare, or, as it's known in America, the financial ruin speedrun. You see, in many parts of the world, getting sick is seen as an unfortunate event, like stepping in gum or discovering your favorite band only plays yacht rock now. In America, it's a strategic decision best made after consulting your financial advisor. See, American healthcare is less a system and more a gladiatorial arena where your health battles your bank account to the death. And spoiler alert, your bank account rarely survives. A simple sprained ankle can leave you with medical bills that would make Scrooge McDuck wince. A trip to the ER? Well, let's just say you better start picking out which internal organs you can live without. Forget about universal healthcare, folks, this is America, where even the concept of affordable healthcare is treated like a socialist plot to steal your freedom, along with your firstborn and your prize collection of commemorative spoons. Here, your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness apparently hinges on your ability to pay exorbitant sums for the privilege of staying alive. And don't even get me started on the insurance companies. These corporate behemoths are about as much fun to deal with as a nest of vipers with a tax audit. They'll deny your claims faster than you can say pre-existing condition, leaving you drowning in a sea of medical debt. So, a word of advice, unless you're planning on robbing Fort Knox to fund your medical care, invest in some seriously comprehensive travel insurance. Because in America, the land of opportunity, the only thing more terrifying than getting sick is getting the bill for it. Chapter 4. Land of the Freeish America's Struggle with Equality. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the elephant that's been systematically disadvantaged for centuries in the room: racial and social inequality. Now, America likes to sell itself as a melting pot, a vibrant tapestry of cultures all living together in perfect harmony. The reality, unfortunately, is a bit more pixelated. Yes, America is a diverse nation, but it's also one grappling with the ghosts of its past and the very real inequalities of its present. Systemic racism isn't some abstract concept here, it's baked into the very fabric of society, from the criminal justice system to the education system to, well, pretty much every system you can think of. And for visitors, particularly those from marginalized communities, this can make for a deeply uncomfortable experience. Imagine being racially profiled while shopping, facing microaggressions at restaurants, or simply feeling like you're being constantly watched and judged because of the color of your skin. Look, I'm not saying that every interaction you have in America will be tainted by prejudice, but the fact that this is even a possibility, a reality for so many, is something that should give any traveler pause. It's like going to a restaurant that boasts about its award-winning food, but also has a sign out front that says, "We reserve the right to refuse service based on your shirt color." So, before you book that trip, do your research. Seek out diverse voices, read up on the experiences of people of color in America. Because while America's diversity is undoubtedly one of its strengths, its ongoing struggle with equality is a stark reminder that the land of the free still has a long way to go. Chapter 5. The Not-So-United States of Climate Chaos. Okay, let's talk about the environment, or more specifically, America's love-hate relationship with it. It's like that friend who borrows your car, crashes it into a tree, then blames you for not having better brakes. On the one hand, America is home to some of the most stunning natural beauty on the planet: majestic mountains, sprawling forests, beaches that would make a postcard jealous. On the other hand, it's also one of the world's biggest polluters, gleefully chugging along on fossil fuels like it's 1950. And the consequences of this environmental negligence are becoming increasingly hard to ignore. Hurricanes are turning into super hurricanes, wildfires are raging out of control, and floods are, well, flooding everything. It's like Mother Nature is staging an intervention, and America is too busy arguing about whether climate change is real to even notice. Now you might be thinking, hey, natural disasters happen everywhere, and you're right, they do. But there's something particularly disconcerting about visiting a country that seems hell-bent on ignoring the very real threat of climate change. It's like booking a cruise on the Titanic after you've seen the movie. You know how it ends, but you're going anyway. So, if you're a traveler who prioritizes sustainability and environmental responsibility, you might want to think twice about giving your tourist dollars to a country that seems determined to turn the planet into a giant hot tub. Because while the Grand Canyon is pretty spectacular, it's hard to appreciate its beauty when you're worried about getting swept away by a climate change-fueled flash flood. Chapter 6. America's Infrastructure, a Pothole-Riddled Journey. Alright, let's talk about getting around, or rather, the unique challenge that is navigating America's, let's call it eclectic infrastructure. You see, in many parts of the world, public transportation is a well-oiled machine, a symphony of trains, buses, and trams, whisking people to their destinations with ease. In America, it's more like a rusty jalopy held together with duct tape and prayers, sputtering along with all the grace of a drunken giraffe on roller skates. Now, I'm not saying that every American city is a public transportation wasteland. New York has its subway, Chicago has its L, and San Francisco has its cable cars, which are charming, I guess, if you enjoy being packed in like sardines with tourists and their selfie sticks. But venture outside of these urban oases and you'll quickly discover that America's love affair with the automobile reigns supreme. And while a good old-fashioned road trip can be a quintessential American experience, it also means contending with traffic jams that would make a Los Angeles resident weep, parking fees that rival the cost of a small mortgage, and roads that look like they were last paved during the Roosevelt administration, and I'm not talking about Teddy. So, unless you're a fan of spending your vacation stuck in traffic, inhaling exhaust fumes, and dodging potholes the size of lunar craters, you might want to factor this into your travel plans. because while America might be the land of the free, when it comes to getting around, you're often left with one very expensive option: renting a car and praying for a miracle. Okay, let's talk about getting into America, which, let's be honest, can feel a bit like trying to join a secret society guarded by 1,000 grumpy gatekeepers. See, America, the land of the free, also has a bit of a reputation for having a visa process that's about as welcoming as a barbed wire fence. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle on a tightrope, complicated, frustrating, and with a high probability of ending in tears. First, there's the application itself, a labyrinthine document that requires you to detail your entire life story, including that time you stole a pack of gum in the 3rd grade. Then there's the interview, where you get to answer probing questions from a consular officer who seems convinced you're harboring a secret desire to overthrow the government with nothing but a tube sock and a dream. And don't even get me started on the fees. They're so high you'd think they were granting you access to a secret vault of gold bullion instead of, permission to spend your hard-earned money in their country. And even if you manage to jump through all the hoops, fill out all the forms, and pay all the fees, there's still a chance you'll be denied, just because. It's like playing the lottery, except the prize is a trip to Cleveland, and you have to pay to play. So, unless you're a fan of bureaucratic nightmares, invasive questioning, and the very real possibility of being arbitrarily rejected, you might want to consider a destination with a slightly more, shall we say, relaxed approach to welcoming visitors. Because in America, the land of opportunity, the only thing harder than getting in is figuring out why it was so difficult in the first place. Alright, let's talk about money, or more specifically, how much of it you'll need to empty from your bank account to afford even a fleeting glimpse of the American dream. See, America, the land of opportunity, is also the land of, well, everything being ridiculously expensive. It's like they took the concept of capitalism, injected it with Red Bull and a shot of espresso, and then set it loose in a shopping mall. We're not just talking about the obvious culprits here, like accommodation costs that would make a sultan blush, and restaurant prices that seem to fluctuate based on the chef's mood. We're talking about the insidious little expenses that sneak up on you like a pickpocket in Times Square. The overpriced coffee, the mandatory tipping culture, the resort fees at hotels that seem to cover the cost of everything except, actually staying at the resort. And then there's the ever-fluctuating exchange rate, which is about as predictable as a squirrel on a sugar rush. One minute your currency is riding high, the next it's plummeting faster than a pigeon trying to escape a toddler with a handful of breadcrumbs. It's like playing financial roulette with your vacation budget. So, unless you're traveling with a suitcase full of cash or have a trust fund the size of Texas, you might want to brace yourself for some serious sticker shock. Because in America, the land of the free, the only thing more abundant than opportunity is the opportunity to spend all your money. Okay folks, time for a little geography lesson, American Disaster Movie Edition. Because while the US boasts a diverse landscape of majestic mountains, amber waves of grain, and cities that never sleep, it's also a giant dartboard for Mother Nature's more temperamental moods. Think of it like this: if the world is a giant game of natural disaster bingo, America is winning, but not in a good way. Hurricanes? Check. Tornadoes ripping through the heartland like a toddler in a ball pit? Check. Wildfires turning entire states into apocalyptic hellscapes? Check and mate. And let's not forget about the earthquakes just waiting to shake things up on the West Coast. It's enough to make you want to invest in a bunker and a lifetime supply of canned goods. Now, I'm not saying you should avoid America entirely because of the slight chance a hurricane might decide to make landfall during your beach vacation. But it's worth doing your research, checking the forecast, and by forecast I mean the full spectrum of potential meteorological mayhem, and maybe packing a go bag just in case. Because while a little rain might dampen your parade, a Category 5 hurricane has a tendency to completely wash it out, along with your hotel, your rental car, and any illusions you had about a relaxing getaway. So pack your sense of adventure, your rain gear, and maybe a helmet, just to be safe. Because in America, the only thing more unpredictable than the weather is which natural disaster will decide to make an appearance next. Alright, let's wrap things up with a lighthearted look at something we can all relate to: cultural differences. Because while America might be the land of the free, it's also the land of, well, some truly baffling customs and social norms. Take, for example, the concept of personal space. In many cultures, standing close enough to someone to smell their breakfast is considered, shall we say, a bit forward. In America, it's just Tuesday. People will bump into you on the street, strike up conversations in elevator queues, and generally treat your personal bubble like it's a suggestion rather than a rule. And then there's the tipping culture, which is about as straightforward as quantum physics. Should you tip your barista? Yes. Your taxi driver? Absolutely. Your hairdresser? Of course. The person who refills the water at your table? Apparently that's a thing now. It's enough to make you want to carry a pocket full of dollar bills and just start throwing them at people to avoid any awkward encounters. And don't even get me started on the small talk. Americans love a good chat, even with complete strangers. So, be prepared to discuss the weather, your travel plans, and your favorite brand of toothpaste with anyone who makes eye contact with you. It's not that they're being nosy necessarily, it's just how they do. So before you hop on that plane to the land of stars and stripes, brush up on your cultural etiquette, pack your patience, and maybe download a tipping calculator app. Because in America, the only thing more diverse than the landscape is the collection of social customs you'll encounter along the way. And there you have it, folks. 10 compelling reasons why you might want to, shall we say, reconsider that trip to the US of A. Look, I'm not saying America is all bad. It's a vast, diverse country with incredible natural beauty, vibrant cities, and a spirit of innovation that's hard to deny. But it's also a country grappling with some serious challenges, from political division and gun violence to economic inequality and climate change. So, before you pack your bags and book that flight, take a moment to weigh the pros and cons. Consider your priorities, your tolerance for risk, and your overall comfort level. And if, after all that, you still decide to brave the wilds of America in 2025, well, more power to you. Just remember to pack your sense of humor, your patience, and maybe a good dose of skepticism. Because while America might be the land of dreams, sometimes those dreams can turn into nightmares faster than you can say, supersized big gulp. Stay safe out there, folks, and remember, travel should broaden your horizons, not your waistline or your criminal record. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Stay safe and travel smart.